for September's meetup. I'm Bruce, by the way, I'm one of the organisers. I normally get up here and speak and do a few things. Sorry for the delay, I've got a few technical problems, but we seem to be right now. So, for those who are here for the first meetup, just a little bit about us. We're a volunteer organisation. There's volunteers that run it, organise the speakers, and the speakers are all volunteers. So, we're free and we aim for it to be free as long as we can do it. Everyone's welcome to come. So because we're a volunteer organisation, it's about building community and networking and things like that. We all do it out of our own spare time. So if anyone wants to give a talk or volunteer to help or sponsor the group so we can have a few drinks after the event, then come and see myself or Leon up the back with the camera, Ben's here on the front, and Angus is here. But come and see us either after the event or at Fox for drinks after. So the next meetup is Thursday, 20th October, same place. We're currently talking to a couple of people about giving talks, but if you'd like to give a talk, come and see us and let us know. And just let us know a topic and we'll fit in. Now, we don't want to do this, but the November meetup is on the 17th of November. It's the last official meetup for the group for the year. And what we normally do, it's kind of a bit of a tradition for the last couple of years, is basically have an open floor where we ask people something that they learned during the last year. So these are a bit different from the kind of talks that we'll do tonight. So it's 5 to 10 minutes of just a little nifty trick that you've learned in the last 12 months to share with the group. And we really encourage people who haven't spoken before, and we're very, very happy to give you pointers and some advice. So the reason I'm bringing that up now is it'd be great if you could start thinking about it and kind of saying, I'm happy to give a talk, and just letting us know something you'd like to talk about. And as we get people responding, we'll put that up and stuff. You're here, so you probably know you found us somewhere, but we have a Twitter account where you can keep updates of what we're doing. We've got a website, and LinkedIn's a really good place to connect professionally. So there's job boards and discussions and stuff on there, and we try and keep it. It's a closed group, so we try and keep it to people who are in Brisbane and in the web design industry. So sign up there. Now, getting even further into the future, another kind of tradition in the Brisbane tech meetup kind of group is the Christmas drinks. That's on the 15th of December. It's at the Platform Bar, Grand Central Station. So basically it's all the meetup groups in Brisbane, all the technical kind of minded ones get together and have a bit of a Christmas drink. So it's free. I'll send this out in the mailing list, but we're kind of using the Bar Camp meetup group as a centralised point for that. So this event wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. Really like to thank The Edge and for providing the venue and the technical support that gets the stuff up on the screen and provides this wonderful venue. As well as that, we've got Matter Solutions, who've been a long-time sponsor the meetup group and the website and a lot of the hosting around that, as well as helping organise the meetup. And if you need to talk to anyone about SEO stuff, talk to Ben, who's from down the front there. So tonight we've got two talks. We've got Bronson Quick, who's going to actually talk about the Edge's new website. It's based on WordPress and BuddyPress. And Eric Vlan, is going to talk about some real-world HTML. So I'd like to invite Bronson up to make his presentation.
Thanks very much, Bruce. My name's Bronson, and just as a disclaimer, I'm exceptionally biased to WordPress. So if you don't know what WordPress is, probably talk to me at the pub afterwards, because you should know. It currently powers 15% of the internet, and it's a content management system. It's completely open source, and there's a fantastic community that surrounds it. Today I'm going to talk about the Edge's new website. It might look visually all that different, but there's a lot of functionality in here that I'd like to talk about, and talk about the project as a whole, how we planned it, the issues we had, and just be very honest and open, and hopefully you guys can learn something from me, and later on you guys can tell me alternative ways that I could have handled certain things so I can learn from you too. Okay, so that's a bit of an overview about what I'll be talking about today for you. I won't go over it because I'm sure you guys can read. So we'll kick it off. So before the redesign, the Edge was running WordPress as a content management system. There were blog posts going up, there were pages on the site, they were commenting just on the posts. Then Brett from the Edge came to us and said, hey, we need a lot more interactivity on the site, because the online space doesn't reflect what's happening in this place here. I'm sure you guys have probably wandered in, had a bit of a look around. There's lots of funky things happening. Before this, you couldn't see much of this online. There were blog posts, but no one was posting photos of what they were up to, or there wasn't too much in the way of comments. So Brett came to us and said, hey, I've used BuddyPress before, and are you able to help us implement that on the site? Now, BuddyPress essentially is a content management system in a box. And I'll go through the features later on. So our process was to take the existing site and theme and add all this additional functionality onto it that happens in BuddyPress. So the goals, which I loosely mentioned before, just main goal was interactivity and getting that on the site. So we wanted people uploading photos. We wanted people commenting on those photos and being excited about things. Lots of people are used to sharing on Facebook, obviously, and they'll be out and about and they'll share these things, and everyone interacts, and it's fun, and people keep going back to Facebook because there's all this activity happening. So we wanted to do that on the Edge. We also really wanted to encourage collaboration, because there's different areas in here. People are good with sound, some people are good with websites, some people are good at acting, and there's all these creative opportunities that happen. But if you're not here at the same time that someone else is here, you don't know what they're doing. So by having this space to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, you can watch this and go, hey, I really like what they're doing in terms of artwork. How about I go and talk to them, or like their comment, or comment and say, hey, that's great. How about we get together and do something? So increasing collaboration was another goal. Long-time learning was another thing. So what we would like to do, hopefully, is we'll get people doing little mini courses. So they'll go from a basic course right up to an advanced course in some area that they're good at. Let's say, hypothetically, you came and signed up to the site, and you were halfway through seeing a series that someone had started. Well, thanks to BuddyPress, there's kind of a digital timeline there where you can go right back, the content's still there, and you can go, I'll start from this first point, build up to where you actually saw the activity, and continue following from there. Also having a digital footprint, so we can say, okay, let's look at what's happened in the Edge over time, and there's a lot of data there that I'm sure people will be using to hack together and say, okay, let's have a look at a digital timeline based on all of this information in there. So it was an exciting project for us, and it was obviously going to be very challenging. And also, trying to implement a social network for the government, obviously there's a lot of things that came up that we had to be wary of, so it's a little bit of a challenge there too. So why BuddyPress? Well, firstly, the site was built on WordPress, so obviously extending upon that is what we have to do. Either that or we drop the whole lot and start again, but doing that is just crazy when you got BuddyPress. So BuddyPress comes out of the box with activity streams, which is similar to the wall on Facebook. You've got friend connections, so you accept friends and you can interact with them. There's groups, so we've had people creating different groups for the different areas that they're in, and you can sign up to the group, interact with the group, and post things specifically to that. So by doing that, you can filter things down so you don't have to see everything that's happening at once. You've got private messaging, so if there's something you want to say to someone outside the actual virtual public environment, you can do that. So there's privacy there. Extended profiles, so we could, when you sign up, we can say, okay, what are you into? You're into music, sound, etc., and you can tick those. That way, other users can search by that and say, hey, this guy's into what I'm into, I'll try and collaborate with them, or this girl's doing music over there, so I'll friend her and we can chat and comment. And of course, there's blogging, which everyone loves with WordPress. So during the initial scoping, there were a few things that came up. Demographic. Because the way the edge is, there's such a wide range of age range here. So you've got people that are, say, 14 up to, well, I don't know, probably 60 even, coming into the space and collaborating with people. So demographic age-wise was quite huge. And also in terms of this, we have to think about, all right, should we be capturing the age as people sign up, because there's obviously going to be issues with old people talking to young people, etc. So we're going to be very wary about that. With that too came privacy details. So given that this is all hosted by the government, all the data's on their servers. They've got an IT team that looks after all that security side of things, plus obviously there's some WordPress security things that I'll talk about when I get to that. We also talked about the reach of the site. So we didn't want to just focus on people in Brisbane who use the space. We want it so that it can encourage people Queensland-wide, then Australia-wide, then globally as well, so that we can really extend out this social network, and different people with different areas and of skill in different places all around the world can collaborate and find each other and see what's happening here. Moderation was another issue. So as Facebook, as you probably know, you can report things that are offensive. Obviously being a government site, this is a big issue. So we have to look for plugins that would allow flagging. So if you find something offensive, you can flag that. That comment will be hidden. It will go into moderation queue, and it can be approved or denied. And another thing that I really push for, because WordPress is open source, we were thinking about ways to give back while we do this project. So essentially using the government's money to innovate and also give as much as we can back to the community. So not something that's done very often, but it's something that, because Brett and the Edge are so forward thinking, we managed to get something across the line which is really cool, which I'll talk about later on. So proposals and considerations. This is just basically where we fleshed out the functions that it needed to have, like your must-haves, what would be nice, and what we can do in the time frame. Wireframes, just basic concepts to just get initial approval, because we already had the site design, so it's just kind of saying, okay, the header will remain here, in this section we'll have X, Y, Z, getting approval with that. Server requirements, saying, okay, there's going to be a lot of interactivity, this server's going to get smashed with updates, comments, photos being posted, so there's a lot of issues there. What plugins we could use, how extensible these plugins are, what's the security like, which is a massive one, which I'll get to. A bit of testing, how we were going to go about doing that. Were we going to do it internally in our company, or were we going to outsource it? Moderation, which I talked about, privacy, and the rest of it kind of covered. So the proposal, as you can see at the bottom, is quite large and took a fair for time. Now plugins. This is just a brief view of the different plugins that we've started to implement, and then I've extended on further, obviously doing security reviews and things like this. So I'll just quickly run through the functionality so you can get a bit of an idea of what these things do. So BuddyPress itself I've talked about, it's a social network in a box. BuddyPress Lite is just similar to Facebook Lite, so everyone's used to using that, so we thought, hey, we'll get a button in there. As you know, it's easy to click a like button rather than type a comment, so it just shows that people are still seeing photos or blog posts and events that are going up, and they're interacting, so the person that posts it knows that people are seeing it rather than just it looking dead. BuddyPress Mobile, this one needs still a little work from here, just optimising the newsfeed so that it'll show up on your mobile phone. BuddyPress Tweet button, so just an inline tweet button so you can tweet out people's blog posts, events, their photos to the wide world. Side-by login, that's pretty straightforward. BC OAuth, so this is so you can have Facebook and Twitter sign-ups. Extra sign-ups, added a few features where people could tick that they wanted to sign up to MailChimp. BuddyPress Live Notification is like Facebook's live notification, so if a comment is shown, it'll show up straight away, as opposed to you having to sign out, sign in, or change pages. Moderation was a little flagging part that's added in. Recaptures, fairly straightforward. Featured members widget, it's fairly straightforward. Now the welcome pack is a really cool one. So when a user signs up, using this welcome pack, you can say, I suggest you become friends with XYZ, and also I suggest that you join these groups. So we've just got some generic groups there. By doing that, there's nothing worse than if you sign up somewhere and you go, alright, I've signed up, what's happening? And there's nothing. It's confusing, it's boring, what's the point of that? With this welcome pack, you sign up, get an email that says, hey, join these groups. I'm like, I didn't even know these groups were there. A few clicks of the button, all of a sudden you've actually got some things happening, you can have a bit of a look around, you're spending time on the site and actually get a bit of a feel about what people are trying to do on the site. Now, we've also got plus one more. This is the really cool one. So, as I was talking about earlier, we wanted to give back. And the way that we ended up giving back to the open source community was by working with The Edge to get a plugin developed externally and getting that open source so other people can use. So BuddyPress Activity Plus was what was created. Essentially, most people are used to using Facebook, so the more kind of Facebook type functionality you can have, the better, because people are familiar with that and they're used to kind of sharing it. So when you sign into BuddyPress, which I might actually do if I can work out how to use this Mac. Safety first. Okay, so now I've signed in. I'll show you some features too while I'm here, which I should have done earlier, but I was just nervous because it was a Mac. So this is like your little what's happening section of the website. So you can type about what you're up to, and you'll see you've got buttons here. So you've got videos, add photos, add videos, and add links. So similar functionality to Facebook. This is an extra plugin. Normally these wouldn't be there, so you'd just be able to type a comment and that's about it. So pretty boring, especially for a place like this when people are taking photos around and doing artwork and creating that on computers and they want somewhere to upload it. You can actually do that using this stuff, so it'll ask you to upload a file. I haven't got anything prepared here, so I don't want to put anything straight on the site. Links, you can post a link, it'll pull in a thumbnail and all that kind of stuff. So what you actually get on the home page is it'll show you, you can see we've got recently active members, so people are using the site. Who's online? Just me for some reason. Achievements, which I'll get to later on. And on the left-hand side here, this is all the activity that's happening at the moment. So you can see there's quite a lot of people signing up and having a bit of a play around, and people posting things. So here's a photo of what's been happening today, which before you would never get to see unless someone did a dedicated blog post. So this is all real time, really easy to share. And then, wants to close. There we go. You can see we've got a little bit of action here where someone's commented, or Beck's commented on her own stuff. But yeah, people can interact there. You've got your little like button, so I can click that. Just a little like, I could flag that as inappropriate. You can favourite that. So that's kind of some of the stuff. It's a shame there's no videos in there at the moment. I'll jump back to the presentation and keep talking. Okay, so yeah, that plugin was funded. Amazing amount of code was written. And the coolest thing about that is it's probably been out in the wild now for, I'd say, around 2 months, and it's already had 13,000 downloads. So it's had a pretty big impact on WordPress and the WordPress community. So it was really good and really forward-thinking of the Edge to work with us and the team that built this to get this out there and give back. So it was a really great feeling to see that, and we were just blown away by how many people are using it. So one of the first steps for me was prototyping. So I had to look at the list of plugins we had, just have a little sandbox site, install all of these plugins, and then cry, because of course they don't want to work together, do they? So I'd slowly go through and see, okay, what's the server load like? What errors are we getting? How much work have I got ahead of me? Does the current theme that we've got on their site work on top of WordPress, which of course it wouldn't because it doesn't have functionality. So that's some of what I had to do. And could I develop a child theme? Now, just to touch over a child theme, the really cool thing about WordPress is if you like a theme and you want to build on top of it, rather than getting in there and hacking this theme directly, you can do what's called a child theme. So your child theme essentially says, hey, my parent is that. So, can I inherit everything that I've got unless I've got something here? So you can say, alright, hey parent, I like everything you're doing, but I don't like your menu, so I'm going to do my own menu stuff here. And it'll all just carry through. And if this parent thing ever gets any additional functionality added or things like that, you can actually update that with a click in the back of WordPress. It updates. This child theme gets any cool features that you want to add along the way, and your site stays the same and it doesn't break. So a lot of people don't know much about child themes and how cool they are, so they'll start hacking their parent theme, they'll see an update, oh my god, I've just lost everything. So, really cool thing with WordPress. So, prototyping, I would have liked to have had a little sandbox to show you, but I've actually had to remove that and work on use that domain for another purpose, so it's no longer there. Project management. We actually use Basecamp for this project because personally I hate managing projects by email. I get enough emails as it is. I don't need feature requests or toing and froing or someone sending me something then saying, hey, remember that email that I sent you about that on this day, and it just can't find it. It's an absolute nightmare, so we use Basecamp. So we create a to-do list and we say, here's what we're going to do during the project. I'll comment on any issues that I have, whether it's good or bad, but obviously as I get it done, it gets ticked off. So during the process, the client can log in and say, hey, they're at this stage, or here's what's happening there. Then at the bug stage, obviously we've trained them, the Edge how to use it. Brett was the main user here. So he'd log in and say, hey, I found a bug. Can you fix this? And then I go, yeah, I can fix this, or hang on, that's going to take longer than I thought. And at any time I can log in there and it's all in there. I don't have to search through multiple emails to work out what's happening. So if you're finding you're managing projects by email at the moment, really recommend to find a project management system like Basecamp so that you've got everything traceable. You can actually have timelines. Your user you can encourage your user to log in at any time to see how the project's going. So you can say phone calls saying, hey, where is it at? Or emails, how's it all going? They can just log in and see how it's going. Now, version control. Originally, because there's a massive amount of plugins, there was hundreds of thousands of lines of code in these plugins that I had to go through. Look for security holes, fix those, and just look for things like bad code that was putting too much load on the server and fixing those as we go. Originally, it was going to be 2 developers working on this, but unfortunately, it ended up just being me. So when I started, I was going to do GitHub so that we can all interact. However, when I found out it was just going to be myself using it, I actually used Dropbox as version control, which is quite unusual. The main reason I use that is because you can actually get Dropbox with version, like infinite version. So for me, it makes sense to know that my code's backed up at all times, especially considering during this project I was at a coffee shop and decided to introduce my laptop to a full cup of coffee and lost it. But I knew that my whole code was synced with Dropbox, so I got a new laptop, bam, all the code's back in it, so that was kind of handy. And also, I can go, okay, I'm going to have a crack at changing this code so it does X, Y, Z, save that, oh no, I've broken it, and then I can just go into Dropbox. Can you go back a version, push that file up, back as normal. So really good when it's just one of you and you don't want to have Subversion or you don't want to have GitHub. So a really simple solution. A lot of people already have Dropbox, just a matter of enabling that versioning, which is a few extra dollars, and I think it's a lifesaver, and it was quite a few times for this project. Testing, the fun part. So we ended up using internal testing, so we had lots of members of the Edge who would log in and break it, and then lodge a bug, say this is broken, add some screenshots. So as you can see, the process was like so. Then there was a soft launch, which is the current version now. And unfortunately, during this process, I had control of everything except for the server. Now, that's not cool. I knew it was going to be an issue at the start, and had I said, can you provision this server for us over a given time frame, unfortunately the wheels of the government do move rather slowly because ITC has to deal with many different infrastructure, especially when it comes to the state library, so it's going to be a bit of a wait. So I ended up using our own VPS while I was testing this, the same, can you make sure that the server has X, Y, Z? And I went, yeah, that's cool. So all the testing was done on our staging server, all the bug fixes were done there. Then when it moved over to the new server, there were some settings there that weren't active that I'd requested. So we've just been working through that now, and now I've got live site and an actual staging server with the same environment. So I've still got a few things to fix there. So here's some problems. URLs weren't encoding in existing usernames, which I only found out when this was shifted over. So if your username on the Edge has a space in it, and you're an existing user before we push this up, there's a few things that aren't working. And normally I get in there and say, I want to have a look through PHPMyAdmin and have a look, see if I can see why those usernames aren't the way that they should be. And unfortunately they didn't have PHPMyAdmin access. So I got that yesterday afternoon, so I've got to get in there and have a bit of a play there. I didn't activate caching fast enough on the initial rollout. Now, if you don't know what caching is, it's pretty much saying, okay, any queries, any pages that are pushed out, rather than them being dynamically generated all the time, let's actually keep dynamic, just a static is the word I'm looking for, the static version, and serve that to users. So that takes a lot of load off the server. So we had a bit of a crash, a lot sooner than I expected. I think it was in 4 days. And then I said to Brett, hey Brett, sorry about that, didn't get around to activating caching. So I put that on, and for example, on the home page there, I've just got a stat. Object caching, there's, over nearly 5,000 things cached on the front page alone now, so that's taken a massive weight off the server. It sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about a social network, you've got people doing status updates, you've got comments, you've got how many likes are there, you've got how many photos are there, how many blog posts are there, you've got people filtering things, and so there's a lot going on. So education has just done wonders for it. Now the next one, while I was working, I was wearing a pink sombrero. So, has anyone heard of the term cowboy coding in the room? Yeah?
Is that you?
Anyone?
Is that you?
So, essentially, cowboy coding, if you haven't heard of it before, is actually coding on a live site. So, trying to fix stuff while people are interacting and using it. And unfortunately, I was guilty of that. And there's a little blog post here, which is fantastic. And it's called Cowboy Coding Pink Sombrero. This is a dev shop overseas. What they did was they had a pink sombrero in their office, and the pink sombrero was worn anytime any developer in the room was doing cowboy coding. So the purpose of that is obviously everyone in the room is going, what's he doing? Now come over, why are you coding on the live server? You shouldn't be doing that. And it's just to kind of stop bad practice. So I was guilty of that until yesterday, pretty much. So it was not a good situation to be in, but now we've got staging server with the same environment as the live one, so I'll be able to clean up these bugs and know that it's actually going to work rather than thinking it was going to. So that's pretty much my talk. I just wanted to give a plug now, because I've got the opportunity. If any of you guys are WordPress users, or you're interested in WordPress, then I'd really encourage you to come along to WordCamp Gold Coast. WordCamps is a full-day weekend where people who are interested in the web and WordPress will come along and share information with each other. So there's talks over the whole weekend, and it's very, very cheap. There's 2 content screens running at the same time, so if you're a bit of a developer, you can go to a high-tech part and you can find out and learn some new things there. If you're a bit of a blogger or you're new to WordPress, we've also got the low-tech, so that we've got the whole audience covered. You'll get morning tea and lunch provided on the day. We got a little funky lanyard as well. You get a chance to network with hundreds of Australian WordPress users, designers. Normally it's only $75, which is dirt cheap, but for you guys we've done a discount code, so it'll be $60. This WordCamps are not for profits, so there's people organisers are doing this all out of their own time for free. The speakers are speaking for free, and for $60 it's amazing value. The fun part is you get to learn, and you get to go to the pub afterwards and network there. It's just, I really would love you guys to come along and enjoy it. Just a quick thanks at the end. Thanks to Matthew, the acting executive manager of The Edge. Thanks to Brett Siriani for The Edge. He's been great along the way. Thanks to the Edge team for testing and using the site. Then I've got a couple of people here who work on WordPress who help me out over the project. Another brilliant thing about the WordPress community is you can reach out to people on Twitter or on blog posts, and they're willing to help, and it's just amazing how much people are willing to help in WordPress. And thanks to you guys for your time. Hopefully you learned something and you can teach me a few things. Okay. And obviously if you've got any questions that you'd like to shoot at me, then feel free. Yeah.
Have you got a date for the camp, buddy?
Yes, I do. Did I not put that up there? Very well spotted. WordCamp's the 5th and 6th of November of this year, so we've got about, I think we're about 6 weeks out. We've got a few, probably about another week and a half, 2 weeks, and we'll have announced all the speakers. And it's a really great lineup. We're very excited. It's going to be really, really good. Any other questions? Yep.
How long did your redevelopment take?
Good question. Say overall, we originally thought it was going to take between 3 to 4 weeks, and it was more like 6 to 8, so about 2 months from where to go. Any other questions? Yep.
Did you have a look at a couple of different project management tools before you settled on Basecamp? Or?
Originally, as part of our business, we did, because we've been using, we tried so many different ones at the start, and we would have liked to have one project management system that could do 100% of what we wanted. Never going to find one of those. So it's kind of a series of using things for a week and finding out how much you could do, whether it was going to work or not. And I think we went through, what do you reckon, 5 or 6?
Yeah, there's a few there.
Maybe even more. Until we found one that kind of met all our needs. And Basecamp seemed to come out right because it also integrates with Highrise, which is a CRM, customer relationship management system. We can also push our contact forms from our website straight into Highrise there too, from WordPress to Highrise. And all our systems pretty much talk to each other now because of Basecamp's APIs. So I'd say it did about 80% of what we want. Still doesn't do everything, but it's the best we could do. Any other questions? Yep.
In terms of your wireframing, how did you go about that? Because the site was already running.
Yep. Pretty much took what was there and said, okay, here's a wireframe, and then talked about what areas of the site, the existing site, would be there and what would go. Just kind of removed, it was literally a wireframe, so we didn't have any of the graphics or anything. So for the left-hand section on the front page where the activity stream was, we kind of said, okay, how long is this going to stretch? What are we going to include in the sidebar? Something I didn't touch on during this presentation is there was an achievements section on the right-hand side, and a leaderboard, which took up some of the wireframing. What happens there is there's achievements on the site, so it's the gamification. So if you comment on a certain amount of posts, then you get an achievement and get a little badge. Same with joining a group and things like that, just to encourage people to go, oh, I got something cool. And yeah, we just went through page by page, kind of giving a rough, is this going to work? Is it not? Then BuddyPress came with some default kind of styles and things. And we just adapted that with a few greens and just different layouts and kind of went from there. So it was kind of fairly loose wireframes, but it gave us enough to go, okay, we can go and develop on top of that.
Yep. Did you use BuddyPress for your wireframe as well?
No, I actually use Google Docs for that. It's got a drawing tool in there and I find it's amazing for wireframes. Someone's open sourced some templates for Google Docs and wireframes that have just got little UI controllers and product sliders, arrows, all sorts of cool stuff that you can just use and just drag and drop into Google Docs, export to PDF. Really handy. Another great use of open source stuff. Any more questions?
Do you have any measurements going on with the goals that you set out at the beginning? Is there some kind of review process where you're going to?
Yeah, we're going to bump some of them down because we found that they're a little bit too high in terms of points and things to achieve. We've had some feedback on that. I'm going to work with Brett to just bring them down because there's a leaderboard there. You can see, I think there's Beck, who's one of the users here. She's using a lot. I think she's on 200 and most people on 10. So we've got to buck those down definitely.
I guess I meant more along in terms of how engaged the users are and I guess measuring the success.
Okay, yeah. It's something that we'll probably get to in the future. That's one of the reasons for the achievement. We haven't actually talked about metrics and how to actually say, okay, this is what we expected, this is what we're getting, but it's definitely going to be part of the process, and part of the reason for the achievements too. Any more questions?
Just quickly, how, in terms of getting people, the community involved, because I actually want to join that, it's actually a great website. How are they kind of, generating interest? Are they, posting it on Twitter or?
Not as yet, because mainly because of those bugs that I didn't get to squash yet. So that's why it's a beta still, because I knew we kind of wanted to get it live, even though there were some bugs in there. Hopefully over the next maybe week I can squash those bugs, then they hopefully get rid of the beta and they will promote it and say, okay, let's get people from here. They also want to talk to different universities around the world and say, hey, check out what we've got. Can you sign up and kind of cross-pollinate different universities and encourage collaboration around the world that way. So there's big plans. Unfortunately, the server issue, me not being able to get what I needed in time, held that up, but we just went, let's go with what we've got. More questions? Yes, Darryl?
You said some of the plugins didn't work with each other when you installed them. What do you do then? Do you find new ones or do you hack the existing?
Usually I'll just have a look through the code and see if I can spot what's triggering what. A lot of the times the good thing about WordPress, as you're probably aware, is there's lots of plugins. Bad thing about WordPress is there's lots of plugins. So there's no review process in that. So it's a matter of, a lot of the time with simpler ones, simple WordPress sites, trial and error, I'll usually see if this doesn't work, is there another one out there? Hey, that works, good, let's go with it. Unfortunately, because this was so specific, it was a real challenge for me to go through, so I'd have to see where I was erroring out what was happening. A lot of the time, there's a lot of JavaScript going on, and a lot of these plugins were left for dead when jQuery was updated to jQuery 1.6.1, I think was the one that most of these are spacking out on, because there's certain selectors there. They got really fussy about whether you had quotes or double quotes or single quotes, so I had to do a lot of fixing of that. So it was, yeah, pretty much, I knew that these could do what I wanted, but just going through and me crying and swearing and yeah, getting through it. That was the main component of my time for this, was trying to get these plugins fixed. Yeah, because unfortunately I didn't really have a chance to go, oh, there's another one that does that, because there's not too many WordPress plugins, unfortunately.
With the plugin that you released,
yep.
what license did you use? And can you talk a little bit about the experience with how that went with the Edge and the government?
Yeah, it's released under GPL, which is the same that WordPress uses, so anything you create is essentially can be taken and built upon, and people, if they wanted to, can commercialize that and sell it. Getting that through, Brett had to slip that one through. He did an amazing job with that, but had it been any other government department, I don't think we would have been able to do what we do. Something I didn't touch upon is, because this is on a .org.au rather than a .gov or QLD.gov, a lot of looser restrictions, so we could play around a bit there, so we didn't have to worry about consistent user experience standards. We got around that, and I think because we're on .org.au, we were able to get around doing what we did and getting my way contributing this under the GPL and giving back. Another reason and how we pitched it too was to say, by doing this, we're going to get a lot of people saying, where did this come from? That'll lead them back to the site, hopefully build our community too. So kind of showing all the positives there. Got us over the edge, but the edge. Yeah. Any other questions? Yep.
Do you do most of your websites with WordPress?
All our websites with WordPress, in fact. Yeah, that's all we do. We just found that when we first started, I touched one Joomla site. I used to work on Joomla 2 years before that in a digital agency. Found it very limiting when I handed it over to clients because they were confused by the backend. It's not easy to get a hold of. Whereas WordPress, I could literally send an email with a username and password and people just got it. And because of that, and my paid for support, it's a really good platform, so we stick with that. So when I'm developing sites, I've always WordPress, and when I'm developing, I think, what are the least amount of options I can give to someone, and can I make it so they can't break it? And I've pretty much been able to do that for the 2 years we've been in business, and yeah, thanks to WordPress. Any other questions? Cool. Alright, thanks very much for listening.